Welcome to Soul Searching with Deep South Korean, the podcast where we explore identity, mental health, and the search for belonging. I'm April, and today's episode is really special. When I first started posting on TikTok, I had no idea it would lead to this incredible community of transracial adoptees and other Asian Americans. It's been a journey of growth, vulnerability, and connection. And today, I want to share how it all started, the lessons I've learned along the way, and the amazing people I've met who've shaped this path. So, grab a drink or your favorite gardening tool and settle in. Hey guys, so today I want to talk about the road to now, because honestly, it wasn't planned. Even though I may have joked multiple times in my life that I was going to run off and become TikTok famous, I didn't have a plan. I'm not a dancer, and honestly, I do not think that my life is all that interesting. In fact, the past few years, my life has been a rickety wreck. But then I made a video on TikTok.
And if there's an Asian with a southern accent out there, can you, show me?
Why, yes. And that video went viral just because of how I talk. And honestly, I wasn't terribly surprised that people kind of had a shocked and awed reaction, because I've had this face and this voice my entire life. And I can tell you that a lot of people are taken aback by this combo. But I will say, I never thought that it would make a video go viral just because I was talking. Literally nothing else. There was zero substance to that video. But hey, you guys like to hear me talk. That's easy. Cool. What do I talk about? I tried a few things. I tried reading, but honestly, I hate small talk. I am not that person who just likes to talk for nothing. I feel like there's a purpose. I think that's why with podcasting, it takes me so long to do outlines, because I have to feel like there's a point to everything. And I can ramble for sure, but I have to be rambling about something. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. I think I was overthinking it, but that's fine, because that wasn't what I was meant to create. I was meant to make the content that I'm making right now. Over time, as I continued to just share my personality and my thoughts and things about my day here and there, I started to get a lot of comments and feedback from other Asian Americans and other Korean adoptees. And then when I started posting on Instagram, I feel like I got even more interaction. And maybe that's because people my age are on Instagram and not on TikTok, but I digress. I don't know, it touched me and affected me in ways that I didn't really expect. In a good way. It made me wanted to do it more. Like I said, it grounded that purpose, but I remember, even though I am full grown, or at least mostly grown, I still remember what it feels like to be that little girl or that young woman and not have representation, to not see faces like mine. And then when I did, oh God, that accent came out hard there. And when I did, there was usually just very few interpretations of what Asian was. It was very stereotypical, if you can imagine. And I suppose in the early 2000s, there was that whole Charlie's Angels thing, and Lucy Liu came out, which she was popular in the 90s too, but I mean, I still feel like she should or could get more recognition for her work or get more work, but maybe she doesn't want to do it. I don't know. It's not my business. But she was the closest thing to me that I felt like I saw out there in the world, because she was an Asian woman who was strong and American and didn't have that stereotypical accent, and she was smart and she was sexy and she was just a woman. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So that was kind of powerful for me when I think I was like in high school, maybe, high school, young, early 20s, somewhere along those lines. But to have people say to me that they feel seen, or they're showing my videos to their children because they feel like I'm a sort of representation. First of all, it's mind-blowing to me because I never thought. It's a huge responsibility. It's an incredible honor. And for me, it has been also very healing, because it almost feels like I'm going back in time and I'm healing that younger version of myself. Like, I'm literally being the person who I needed when I was growing up, which is not an original thought. It is not an unknown concept, but doing that, becoming that person that you would look for when you needed help, you know, it's just, I don't know what else to say or what to say to, it's evolutionary. It's kind of inspired me to evolve from just making videos and content to honestly trying to be more involved in the community. And there's a lot of things going on right now with adoption paperwork, and so it's transformed from being social media posts to a podcast, and now there's a whole website, and I'm trying to create a community on there because not everybody has Facebook to join a group, and not everyone is on TikTok, and not everyone's on Instagram. So there's no one platform where we can all seem to like gather and share information and not have some sort of barrier, I suppose. I don't know if I'm going to be able to maintain all of this. I think that I'm definitely, for the first time in my life, in a place where I could. But I want to give it the good college try, that's for sure. And I'm open to whatever else it may become. A lot of you may be hearing what I'm talking about, getting involved with the community and interacting with other KADs. And you may be asking questions like, well, where do I start? And how? And once I do find people, like, I don't know if I'm really ready to like go out there and meet them, and I'm shy, or I'm really introverted, and here is what I have to say to that. First of all, you have every right to feel however you want to feel. And I totally hear you, and I do not want you to think that what I'm about to say is trying to diminish that. But as someone who can relate to that feeling, might I pose a devil's advocate scenario here? Okay. I too would kind of classify myself as being introverted, as being introverted. She says, as someone who posts things on the internet, has a podcast and a blog and a website, she doesn't like attention. And I have come to realize that I think a lot of that is because I often have not felt safe in a lot of spaces or welcome in a lot of spaces, even in my own skin sometimes, which I think that has to do with our trauma as transracial adoptees. Fun fact, that's the trauma. Sorry. But yeah, I think feeling that displacement so much throughout my life has made me feel like I have to kind of close myself up and protect myself. And unless I have like a safety blanket or a buffer or whatever, some sort of familiarity with people, I kind of close in on myself. But honey, you get me in front of people that I feel comfortable with, and she's the life of the party. All right, give her a microphone at karaoke, she'll knock 'em dead. But but it's I think it's about that safety and that that otherness that we've so often felt in social environments. So it makes us feel like it's just so hard to talk to people. But the truth of the matter is that we've never been given scenarios on a consistent basis where we could just be a person. Most of us end up being a sideshow to people who don't know us, whether it be microaggressions or just general human curiosity. Okay, well, where are you from? How did you get here? Oh, you're adopted. What was that like? So what do you have siblings? Like, what do you know about? And if you, God forbid, you have an unexpected accent like I do, then you get the, well, what kind of Asian are you type of questions, as if you're not a human. And you can't tell me that over time does not make you feel a little less inclined to people. You know what I'm saying? So hear me out. We haven't been given the best experiences in life to socialize. But if you get with other Korean adoptees, it's different. Because now all of a sudden, we're all the same. Even if our adopted parents come from different areas, are of a different class, different social or political views, we all have something huge in common with who we are as people that, regardless of how we were brought up, has somehow affected us in our identity. We share that. And it's like, for me, this sort of like magnetism and this recognition of likeness, there's this kinship that comes from it. And all of a sudden, I don't feel apprehensive about talking to you anymore. What are you going to ask me that's offensive? Because you already know these answers because you've lived it. Oh my God, it's mind-blowing. So, yes, I will advocate every single time for people to go out into the community, meet other Korean adoptees, go to dinner with a group, because it is so cool to sit at a table of 10 to 20 and look around and be like, we're all Asian. We're all Korean adoptees, or just transracial adoptees who happen to be Asian. Nobody cares. It's just cool to say, we're all Asian. But not the kind of Asian that has expectations for you to be Asian enough. Because we know what that's like too, right? It's just this weird tween place, this balancing act that we have to try and like navigate. And it's so hard and it's so exhausting. And I don't think we realize how much pressure that puts on us mentally when we go into social situations until, again, this is my personal experience, until we go into like those environments where we're with other KADs, and then it's like, oh my God, that heaviness that I was carrying with me, that like tightness in my chest, and that, oh, she can breathe. Oh my God, it's comfortable here. I like it. Okay. Yes, I will drive 2 hours to go hang out with other Korean adoptees because it's easy. I don't know you guys, and I will try my damnedest, but I may not remember your names. But I'll learn them and I'll get better at it, and we will all just continue to hold these conversations and talk with each other because we can. And there is no judgment. There's no misunderstanding. There's no weird pause and look and like, you know, that you have caused that person to have some sort of freak out because they don't know what to say now. They can't relate. Dear God. Thank God for dark humor. Am I right? It helps every single time. If you go, be part. Don't just sit there and not try. We give each other a chance. I have never been in a meeting where each person was not individually given the opportunity to share their story or, be involved in the conversation. Like, these are the most intentional conversations that I have had with people in a very long time. It's amazing. It's fulfilling. It's almost like a drug. When I talk about it, it just makes my heart happy. So yeah, I'll advocate for it every single time. And you can find them, like I said, in Facebook groups, but I know a lot of people aren't on Facebook groups. So again, try the website. There's not a lot of resources on there yet because I literally just made the website. But hopefully that community and groups on there will grow and we can find each other on there. Okay, I'm going to pause for a train. I'm going to do a blog that goes along with each podcast episode, so you can actually find these resources in that blog post through a clickable link. Just trying to keep things organized and accessible for everybody. In the Facebook group, there are a couple people who actually host Zoom meetings. You'll get one on Sunday and usually Wednesday. And I am terrible about making these meetings because it's usually when I want to sleep, if I'm being quite honest. 8 p.m. on a Wednesday Eastern time and 11 a.m. on a Sunday. Yes, sometimes I do want to be sleeping on a Sunday at 11 a.m. It's called a nap. Try it. Another thing that I will also advocate for, naps. Sponsored by Turning 30. I did find a group through Catholic Charities, and that seems to be open to honestly anybody. You don't have to necessarily have been someone who was adopted through Catholic Charities. But they also include other transracial adoptees and the birth parents or adopted parents. So it's a very mixed group, but I don't know, I think it was helpful to hear different perspectives. It is also important to know that like these groups and hanging out with other Korean adoptees, it's not therapy. So, don't go there expecting that. If you go into these social settings or these Zooms or these support groups and you're expecting that like it's going to change your life because someone is going to be able to fix you or give you all the answers or a step-by-step process. Nah, babe. That's what therapy's for. And I say that with all the love in my heart because I think from the moment we are conceived, we should be assigned a therapist. I haven't had any instances really where that's been a problem in the groups that I've been involved with. Honestly, I'm very impressed with the KAD community because we're kids, y'all. I don't know if you noticed, but like, holy shit. Like, I get it. Anybody with a microphone and a laptop can create a podcast, but but like, we're doing some things. The mindset seems to be we have chosen to be victors, not victims. And I love that. You know, you can acknowledge your hardship and still keep going. You don't have to drown in it. It can be part of your story, and you can talk about it, and you can look somebody square in the eye and be like, this terrible, awful thing happened to me. But look where I am now. And I'm here. It's a very incredible mindset that we all seem to have. There's a fortitude there that I just am very proud, hopefully, to say that I have as well. So, yeah. Go us. And, you know, I think that resilience, and I say resilience and not strength for a reason, but I think that resilience that we all seem to share is very important as we all have embarked upon this journey of learning more about our culture and our identity and figuring out who we are, coming out of this fog that makes us think life is a certain way. It's very Truman Show, honestly, in a weird way. But coming out of this fog and realizing that life really isn't the way that we thought necessarily, but it's this way. I mean, and everyone's journey is a little bit different than the other, but there's also like this sense of sameness along the way. And one thing that I find kind of amusing is just like this question of validity of learning Korean culture. Like, are we allowed? Are we Korean enough? First of all, yes, you are. And it may be awkward because you feel like your ancestors are screaming at you because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And you try really hard and then you think you did everything right. I followed the directions. But then you realize you don't know if you did it right because you don't know what it should taste like or what it should sound like or what it should look like. Because your resources are pretty much like through the internet or a book, and you're trusting that these are valid resources and that you chose correctly because you may not have a direct connection to someone who grew up in Korean culture. So for me, sometimes it almost feels like, not to sound dramatic, but it almost feels like appropriation in a way. Because I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, but I'm cosplaying or LARPing or whatever. I'm pretending I'm doing it anyway. But talking in my community, I have learned that that's something that we all share, that kind of imposter syndrome. And we just laugh and joke about it. We might do it wrong, but that's okay. The point is that we're trying. The point is that we're making the effort. It may not be the best effort, and it may not always be the most accurate one, but we're still trying. And some of us can learn together, and we can make jokes about our own little fusions along the way, you know. Because we do kind of straddle two cultures. We have the culture that we were brought up in from our adopted families, and then we have the culture that we were born into that we're trying to learn. So it's always fun to listen to how people are making space for both and how they're finding or figuring out where they stand in it. And that may vary on that spectrum day to day. So, but obviously food is kind of where I started, and just learning a little bit about holidays and just cultural things like that. I've yet to take on the challenge of language. It's very intimidating. I think a lot of us can agree that, you know, Asian languages are intimidating, period. And again, you feel this immense pressure to do it well. And then how do you practice, or where do you get started? And there's already so many things that you are trying to spend money on just to reconnect with your Koreanness. Do you have the money to pay for a tutor? One of the things I do have on my Korean bucket list is to attend a convention, and I get to check that off this year. If you've never heard of it, well, there's actually a couple. I know for sure of two, but I'm pretty sure that there's multiple. There's more than that. I'll be attending KAN this July, KAAN. I'm sorry, not July. It's in June. KAN is in June in Atlanta. And yeah, I think there's still the early bird special. I think they're going to offer that until the end of this month, March 31st. So if you haven't bought your ticket yet and you want to go, definitely check that out. The next one is IKA, which is IKAA. And next year they're going to be hosting in Korea. And when they host in Korea, I hear they host up to like 700 plus people. So that's going on the bucket list for this girl. Fingers crossed that next year we'll be going to Korea for the first time. That's wild and exciting because, you know, I think I'm ready. And I've been doing my birth search. So I think that would just kind of be perfect timing for me to go over there. And I know a lot of people in the groups that I've been in have been traveling over there or have traveled, and just listening to their experiences, it of course makes me want to go that much more. Before I close, I just want to acknowledge some people who I have met along the way. These are other creators who have just made this journey very fun and welcoming, and made it feel very easy, honestly. When I first started going viral on TikTok, I connected with some other Korean adoptees. That was really fun. So I'd like to share, you know, their stuff so you can follow them too. Miss Melanie has a restaurant in St. Louis called Tiny Chef. So definitely go check her out if you're in the area. Get you some Korean food. It looks delicious. I also did a live with Joy, and that was really fun. Joy is a few years younger than me, so it was really cool to get a different perspective from a younger generation. There was Nate, who I met pretty early on in doing lives, and we still connect. I've actually met up with him in person to hang out with him and his CAD group. Hey, guys. And he's going to be coming out with his own podcast soon, so watch out for that coming this summer, I believe. And then he connected me with Laurie and Claire. They are also Korean adoptees, and they have their own podcast called The Empowered Adoptee. That was the first podcast that I'd ever been on. So to say I was nervous is an understatement, but they definitely made it as easy and painless as possible. And they're two very lovely ladies. I've had the pleasure of meeting Laurie in person when I was out on the West Coast, but I haven't had a chance to meet Claire yet, but I think I get to do that at Con this summer, so look forward to that. These next ladies are not Korean adoptees, but still very wonderful people. Sarah and Sathana, I met with them over a live post election, and it was just really nice to connect with them and talk about how we all felt and, just kind of checking in with each other and discussing our plans of action to get through the next 4 years. And I just really appreciated having two strong women to have those discussions and feel safe when I felt really scared, honestly. Last but not least, there is Michelle from We Cultivate. We connected over Instagram, and I'm really excited about the work I'm going to be doing with her. She has invited me to be on her podcast, and We Cultivate works with language and communication, from semantics of how you communicate in the office all the way up to learning a new language and how to navigate it like a native speaker. So you can imagine why I might be intrigued by Michelle's work. Yeah, that'll be exciting. And I think that episode is scheduled to come out this fall. So definitely look into that and check her out as well. Okay, guys, I have an update on my birth search. And I've been sitting on this for a minute because honestly, I didn't know what to do with it. Allow me to fill you in. So, last you heard, I'd written the letter to my biological family seeking them out, and I was told that the government had 90 days to write 3 letters. To send that letter 3 times because it required a signature. That was just to kind of ensure that the correct person received it, because culturally speaking, my existence could ruin my biological mother's life. That's the reality of it. That's the reality that a lot of people have faced as they have gone on this birth search. Some people have been fortunate. I don't know how you want to look at it, but some people's experience has just been different. And their birth mothers were just in a different place, or, they were able to open their lives up to their children. And, but some found their birth mothers only to find out that they couldn't speak or communicate with them because their existence was kind of erased. The woman went on to have another family, and their husbands didn't know about that first child. And that's kind of what happened with me. My birth mom has gone on to start another family. Her husband doesn't know about me, and I'm assuming there are children, so my half siblings do not know that I exist either. But the little M. Night Shyamalan twist in my story is that she technically wasn't the person who put me up for adoption, even though I believe it was her wish to do so. My uncle, her older brother, and his wife were the ones to physically take me into the adoption agency and surrender me. Is that the correct term? Release me, abandon me. So whenever my letter was sent to them, they received it. My uncle called back immediately and kind of gave the tea and confessed that, it was he and his wife who had put me up for adoption, but they were open to communication, but they couldn't promise, or they didn't know that my mother would be willing or able to communicate. And they were thankful to hear that I was okay and healthy and was doing all right. So at that point, it was my responsibility to decide if I wanted to continue. Do I want to write back? What do I say? And I wanted to write back. I do want to write back. But what do I say? And I realize that I'm overthinking this, and it could probably just be simple and non-complicated. And hi, how are you? I know you got my first letter and everything, but I'd love to know more about you or whatever. Thank you for making what you thought was the best decision for me possible. Because I feel like as people, they probably need to hear that. There's no way that they could have anticipated that some of the not so great things that happened to me here would have happened. And honestly, some of the alternatives over there, while can be very stereotypical, I have heard from other adoptees that when they've met their half siblings who were kept, sometimes their life story wasn't so great and adoption was the best option for them. So, it's a complicated, sticky wicket. I am just trying to figure out where to start and how much is enough and how much is too much. And to be quite honest, I don't know that there's really an answer. I think this is just one of those things where you have to do it and just do it. And I will. I'm going to when I'm ready. And I think that's part of it, is that I need to be emotionally ready to continue. And right now I'm just not. And that's okay. But that is a privilege that I can kind of take advantage of right now because I've already made contact with my biological parents, which I probably shouldn't take advantage of that too long because I am still communicating through Hulk Korea, and that might change a little bit once these files get transferred in July to the NCRC. So I don't want to get too deep into that right now because I'm going to have a whole episode about that coming up. That's it for today's episode of Soul Searching with Deep South Korean. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of this community. None of this would have been possible without your support and the incredible creators who've walked this path with me. If today's episode resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And as always, keep searching, keep growing, and know that you're not alone.